the profound connection between animals and the afterlife. Hello, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or you've been with us before, I'm excited to share something truly special with you today. We're about to explore a topic that might shift the way you see the world, the animals in your life, and even the afterlife itself. So grab a seat, relax, and let's dive into something that might surprise you, something that could change how you view the love we share with the creatures around us. The love that animals have for us is pure, unwavering, and unending. But what happens after death? Is that truly the end of our connection with them, or is there something more? What you're about to hear will change the way you think about life after death. The Bible has much to say on this topic, and today you're going to encounter a truth that many don't talk about. Before we dive in, I'd like to ask for your support. Please take a moment to share where you're listening from in the comments section. We're all connected no matter where we are. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Trust me, what you're about to hear could forever alter the bond you share with the animals you've loved. My name is Lawrence, and I'm 65 years old, living in Holland, Michigan. 2 years ago, my life took a devastating turn. My wife, Aurora, was taken from me far too soon by a rapid and aggressive illness. It was unexpected. There was no time to plan, to say goodbye, or even to come to terms with what was happening. She was gone in a matter of months, leaving me in complete stillness. The house felt empty, and my life felt void of meaning. My days blurred together, spent watching shows on TV that held no interest for me, and only leaving the house for necessary things, like grocery shopping. Nothing made sense anymore. It wasn't the first time I had faced such a loss. Years earlier, I had lost my mother to cancer, and it had taken me a long time to heal from that. But this time, it felt different. Aurora had been the love of my life, my best friend, my companion. She was an incredible cook, and her love filled our home in ways I can't even explain. Without her, the world just felt dull. Then, one day, something happened. It was a chilly afternoon as I was returning from the store when I noticed a cardboard box near a trash can. I heard a faint cry, which made me stop in my tracks. Normally, I wouldn't have given it a second thought, but something made me walk over. Inside the box was a little dog, shivering, weak, and clearly starving. Its eyes looked so tired, drained by hunger and cold. There was no one else around, no one to care for it. It had been abandoned, left to die alone. I had never been a huge fan of animals. I wasn't particularly inclined to have one in my home, but something about that moment struck me, and I couldn't just leave it there. I picked up the little creature, wrapped it in my jacket, and decided I would take it home, get it checked by the vet, and then return it to the shelter once it was healthy. That was the plan. At first, the dog wasn't what I had in mind as a companion. It was wild, bouncing off the walls, chewing on everything, and causing chaos. All my efforts to train it seemed to fail, and I found myself growing increasingly frustrated. On top of the sadness I already felt from losing Aurora, this dog was another source of turmoil in my life. It seemed like just another burden. But as time passed, something started to change. The dog began to grow stronger, its once dull eyes starting to shine again. And with that change, I began to feel something else, a slow shift within myself. It was as if this little animal was reviving a part of me that I thought had died along with my wife. Little by little, it started to chip away at the heartache, and the darkness that had surrounded me began to lift. I knew then that the dog deserved a name, something meaningful. By now, I felt that its existence had a purpose. Like Noah in the Bible, who built an ark to survive the storm, I felt that this dog was my ark. I named him Noah not because it was just a name, but because, in a way, he was helping me survive my own personal storm. Life began to feel more manageable again, and I started to appreciate the little moments of peace Noah brought me. That's when everything changed again. One bright afternoon, the weather was perfect for a walk, and Noah and I were strolling along, enjoying the sunshine. We reached a crosswalk, and I stopped in front of the pedestrian lines. There was a car stopped, allowing us to cross. But just as we stepped forward, two speeding cars came racing from behind, clearly not paying attention. They were going so fast I didn't have time to react. The first car slowed down, but the second didn't. The headlights came barreling toward us. I shouted Noah's name and tried to pull him back, but it was too late. In an instant, the world went silent, and then there was a crash. I remember being yanked off my feet as the leash snapped in my hands. Time seemed to slow, and then I was in the air, suspended for a moment before crashing onto the pavement. I remember nothing after that, just pure, profound darkness. For what seemed like an eternity, I drifted in that darkness. I felt no fear, no pain, just a deep sense of stillness. Then, slowly, a soft light began to appear, gently shining through the darkness. It wasn't coming from outside. It felt as if it was emerging from within me. And then I saw him. There, in front of me, stood Jesus. His presence was calm, radiant, full of love. He looked at me with deep compassion, and his voice when he spoke was gentle and comforting. "Lawrence," he said softly, "don't be afraid. There's a greater purpose for you than you can understand right now." All my fear and sadness melted away in an instant, replaced by an overwhelming sense of peace. I knew at that moment that I wasn't alone. And then he spoke again. "You need to understand something about you and Noah." His words hit me hard. I felt like he could see into the very depths of my soul. "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "Do you know why Noah was sent to you?" Jesus asked. "It wasn't by chance. Just as Noah was suffering, so were you. You both found each other, and in doing so, you healed one another." Suddenly everything made sense. Noah wasn't just a dog I had taken in. He had been sent to me for a reason. We were two souls, lost and broken, who had found each other. And in that bond, we were both healed. Jesus smiled, his gaze full of understanding. "Have you ever thought that Noah might actually understand your pain?" he asked. My heart skipped a beat. I had never truly considered it. But now, thinking back, I realized that Noah had been there for me in ways no one else had. On my loneliest nights, when Aurora's absence felt unbearable, Noah was the one who comforted me without words, just by being there. Jesus nodded. "The bond you share with Noah is not just a simple connection. It is a bond between two souls who truly understand each other. It's deeper than you can imagine." I felt tears fill my eyes. "But Lord, I've always thought of animals as just animals. I never realized they could mean so much." Jesus gently shook his head. "There's much more to them than you think. They are gifts from God, sent to bring healing and love. They're often there when humans are lost or suffering, providing the comfort and companionship that we need." I closed my eyes, taking in his words. It was clear now. Noah wasn't just a pet I had rescued. He had rescued me in return. There was no accident in how we came together. "Why do animals seem to understand human pain so much better than people do?" I asked. Jesus smiled again. "Because animals are pure. They don't judge. They feel with their hearts, and in doing so, they can connect with the pain that humans often can't. They are here to heal, to love, and to remind us that we are never truly alone." In that moment, everything I had believed about animals, about love, and about life after death shifted. I had learned something far greater than I ever expected. The bond we share with our pets is real, powerful, and, in many ways, spiritual. And it is a love that, in its purest form, never truly ends. Jesus' gaze was intense as he studied me. "Listen attentively, Lawrence. In contrast to humans, Animals lack a soul. Since they don't sin, they are not subject to the same standards. They are unable to decide between right and wrong. However, God has given them a spirit, a spark of life, and God never loses anything that comes from Him. You mean I'll get to see Him again? That Noah's position in your kingdom shall exist? Jesus gave a nudge, for the creation itself eagerly awaits the revelation of the children of God. Isn't it written? Because it was the desire of the one who subjected it to futility, rather than its own volition, that the creation would be released from its slavery to decay and brought into the magnificent freedom of God's children. Romans 8:19-21. I stopped, thinking, will animals also be redeemed as a result? Creation will be restored after everything is accomplished and sin is eradicated. There will be no loss of anything made with love. There will be no more suffering for animals, and all living things will have their proper position in my kingdom. Then Jesus gave me another vision. I saw a fresh and wonderful place. The rivers flowed clean, the air was fresh, and animals of all kinds raced fearlessly over limitless meadows. I saw lions reclining next to toddlers, horses racing over beautiful stretches, and wolves and lambs sleeping together. Then I saw him, Noah, among them. He was there, robust and in good condition. His soul was painless, his vitality was dazzling, and his eyes glistened with delight. He was waiting for me and looking for me. Larry, Noah will be there just like everyone who has served and loved with a pure heart. My eyes began to well up with tears. Does this imply, Lord, that all the animals we have loved will come back to us? Jesus gave a little nod. Not every animal has a strong emotional connection to people. Others are only earthly beings. However, those who have supported you along the way, loved you, and been loved by you will remain at your side. Love is never wasted. The realization overpowered me, causing me to fall. So our connection won't ever be severed? Never. The love that God gives is everlasting. Then the illumination surrounding me started to dim. Once again, the actual world became apparent as I felt a tug pulling me back into my body. Before leaving, Jesus made one last statement. Tell people what you have observed when you get back. God's creations are no longer valued by the world. Remind them that every life is valuable and that every love relationship is a priceless gift. Noah was still alive, but still hurt when I last saw him. I woke up after that. I was struck with a heartbreaking image. Noah lay on the asphalt, his body still, his respiration broken and shallow. There was still life in his eyes, a spark of defiance, a resolve to fight despite the bloodstains on his coat. My heart tightened in agony. Lord, Noah has endured a great deal during his life. He suffered from loneliness, was left behind, and now this. Why was he subjected to all of this? Jesus gazed at me with unending tenderness. Lawrence, the suffering of animals reflects the suffering of our fallen world. When sin entered the world, creation itself became tainted. The pain, the death, the cruelty, none of this was my Father's original plan. He flashed me a picture. I saw the immaculate splendor of Eden. The animals coexisted peacefully with humans. No fear, no battle for existence, and no death were present. In the beginning, it was like this. He said, animals were not created to suffer nor to be mistreated. They were part of God's perfect design, and in His kingdom, they will once again reflect that perfection. I dropped my eyes to look at Noah. Even as his body shook, his heart continued to beat. Was he going to get better? Jesus touched me on the shoulder. He suffered a devastating blow, but his time is not over yet. It will take months, care, and patience, but Noah will rise again, and your bond will be stronger than ever. There was a knot in my throat. Lord, and when his time comes, when he dies, will I see him again? Do animals have a soul? The spiritual connection between humans, animals, and God's kingdom. Jesus looked at me intently and deeply. Lawrence, listen carefully. Animals do not have a soul in the same way that humans do. They are not called to answer for their deeds as humans are, for they do not sin or choose between good and evil. But they do have a spirit, a spark of life given by God, and nothing that comes from God is ever lost. You mean to say that I will see him again? That Noah will have a place in your kingdom? Jesus gave a nudge. Is it not written, "For the creation itself waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. For the creation was subjected to futility, not of its own will, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in the hope that the creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the freedom and glory of the children of God." Romans 8:19-21. I took a moment to think. Does it imply the redemption of animals as well? Creation will be restored after everything has been completed and sin has been eliminated. You will not lose everything that was made with love. In my kingdom, every living being will find its place and animals will no longer suffer, Jesus said. Next, Jesus gave me another vision. I saw an amazing new place. The rivers flowed clean, the air was fresh, and animals of all kinds raced fearlessly over limitless meadows. I saw lions reclining next to kids, horses running across beautiful meadows, and wolves and lambs sleeping together. Then I saw him, Noah, among them. Strong and vigorous, he was there with glowing vitality and joyfully flashing eyes. He had no anguish to burden his soul. He was waiting for me and looking for me. Noah will be there, Lawrence, just like all those who have loved and served with a pure heart. My eyes began to well up with tears. Lord, does this mean that every animal we have loved will return to us? Jesus gave a little nod. Not all animals form a deep bond with humans. Some are simply creatures of the earth. But those who have been part of your journey, those who have loved you and whom you have loved, will have a place by your side, for love is never wasted. The realization overpowered me, causing me to fall. So our bond will never be broken? Never. The love that comes from God is eternal. Then the illumination surrounding me started to dim. I felt a tug pulling me back into my body as the reality became more apparent. Before he left, Jesus said this, "When you return, share what you have seen. The world has forgotten the value of God's creatures. Remind mankind that every life is precious and that every bond of love is a sacred gift." Noah was still alive but still hurt when I last saw him. After that, I awoke. A flurry of suffering, anxiety, and optimism characterized the days after the disaster. As my body attempted to recover, I spent weeks in the hospital, but my thoughts were elsewhere, in a chilly, dark room where the question, "Would Noah make it?" kept coming back to me. The veterinarians didn't believe it. It has had a catastrophic effect. He had a serious illness. However, Noah didn't answer. Terrifying between life and death, he lay still. I prayed fervently every night, saying, "God, you sent him to save me. Please do not take him away." Weeks passed before I felt something, a little movement, a deeper breath. One morning as I sat next to him, my eyes heavy with fatigue and my voice broken by sorrow. Then Noah's eyes slowly opened. His pupils looked about for me, dull but there. And as soon as our eyes locked, I experienced a strong emotional rush. He was still present. Even though the doctor predicted a protracted and difficult recovery, I considered it a miracle. "You did it, Noah. We made it." I realized then that his struggle was my struggle, that we were both suffering, and that we would both be healed together. After many months, Noah regained consciousness. He was different now. Even though his body bore scars from that awful night, his soul was still there, stronger and more radiant. But everyone's time passes. The most difficult test of all was the one I had wanted to put off a bit longer but knew was coming a few months ago. Noah had aged. He was moving more slowly now, and his eyes were more worn out. He had never left my side, however. He followed me everywhere, like he had all his life, always there, always alert. Then it occurred one morning as I was escorting him outside for his treatment session. Noah paused. After giving me a quick glance, he walked a few paces by himself and wagged his tail with amazing effort. I dropped on my knees in front of him, tears running down my cheeks. "Hey, my friend, I'm here. I saw love, thanks, the sadness of having to say goodbye, and serenity in his eyes as he gazed at me. His moment has arrived, he realized. "I love you, Noah. Thank you for everything." He made a last attempt to show that he was ready, barely moving his tail as if to express his love for me. He closed his eyes after that. As he rested in my arms, I became aware that he was no longer there. How long I stayed there, crouching with my face buried in his fur and crying hysterically, I don't know. I was left weak and breathless as the anguish overtook me like a huge wave. Did it really end? I had lost everything at the time God gave him to me. He had been my guiding light, my friend, and my seal of protection. When I thought I would die, he saved my life, and now he's gone. For the last time, I hugged him close. Thank you, Noah. Thank you for loving me more than I deserved. Even though the agony was excruciating, I closed my eyes and let Jesus' words take hold of me. In my kingdom, nothing that you have loved will be lost. In the midst of the anguish, I experienced a profound, lasting calm. Noah was not really gone. He wouldn't be. He still hasn't taken his place next to my bed when I wake up every morning today. The memories I hold close to my heart, the times when I still sense his presence beside me, and the assurance that I shall see him again when God asks me to do so are all reminders of his spirit, and for eternity we will run together, painlessly and fearlessly. Having seen the truth firsthand and after all I've been through, I know I can no longer keep quiet. This message was not only for me, it was also for everyone who has been hurt, loved, and lost, or who has looked into an animal's eyes and found solace, hope, and unadulterated love. Jesus demonstrated to me that animals are more than just journey companions. They are neither a coincidence nor an add-on to our existence. They are a heavenly gift, tools that God uses to communicate with us, provide us with strength, and lead us throughout our most difficult times. For me, Noah was a sign from God, not simply a dog. In actuality, God gives many people these indications, but how many of us are aware of them? What percentage of people realize that the devoted eyes that gaze at us daily are live manifestations of heavenly love rather than just worldly beings? How often do we undervalue a little act of kindness or a quiet but enduring presence just to discover that the sign we've been looking for is right there by our side? I believed I had rescued Noah when I discovered him. He had, in fact, saved my life. I needed him as much as he needed me, and God knew it. Like me after losing Anna, he had been wounded, forsaken, and rejected by the world. Without recognizing it, our pains merged and we began to encourage one another. A coincidence did not occur. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a creation of God. Animals are neither things to be thrown away or objects. They are priceless animals who have been committed to our care, protection, and affection. Because every life has worth, the Bible makes it very evident that God cares for all living things, even the tiniest ones. What right do we have to treat them badly, disregard them, or leave them if the Lord Himself is watching over them? When an animal is harmed by human violence, it is as if a piece of creation itself is being desecrated. However, each time we greet them, tend to them, and show them love, we are responding to a summons from God. Never write off an animal as just a friend if it follows you everywhere, loves you, and waits for you when you get home. That's a sign. It's how God lets you know you're not alone. And don't give up if you're alone without an animal or if you feel empty within. Maybe you haven't received your sign yet. There could be an animal that is as much in need of you as you are. I've learned from experience that when a man experiences the most agonizing anguish and maintains his faith, a sign of assistance, a mark of hope, is given to him from heaven, a pure soul selected by God to aid him through the dark and walk with him on the road of faith. Before I turned around and saw the obvious road that God had outlined for us, I had no idea that Noah was my seal. It is possible that you have also experienced a Noah. Maybe one is with you right now, or maybe one is on the way. Don't disregard the signals, however. Never undervalue the importance of unspoken affection, unwavering company, or a presence that soothes you. In his kingdom, Jesus demonstrated to me that nothing that has been loved would ever be lost. We never spend time with them in vain. Our shared link endures beyond death. Even though my Noah is gone, I know I shall see him again. When God summons me one day, I know he will be there, waiting for me. We shall run together this time, fearlessly, painlessly, and without time. If I were to leave my life with one message, it would be that animals are a gift from God. They have been given to us to support us, to love us, and to teach us the true meaning of compassion and loyalty. We must not overlook this gift. We should seize the chance to be for them what they are for us, a manifestation of God's love on earth. Your heart must be huge if you've read this far. In the comments, please write Amen or the nation you are listening from. If you believe in the teachings of the Lord and have a deep affection for animals, you should show your friends and family this video. This video is the only one that honestly and genuinely addresses the necessity for animals in our lives in a way that is consistent with the Bible. If you haven't already, like the video and subscribe to the channel. With all my heart, I am grateful. May you be blessed by God. On my channel, I hope to see you again.